Ambassador Chen Wei had been waiting for this moment for 5 years. She stood in the massive chamber where the Galactic Council met, surrounded by beings from 1,000 different worlds. The air smelled strange here. Each species needed different gases to breathe, and the life support systems mixed them all together, in a way that worked for everyone but felt comfortable for no one. The chamber itself was bigger than any stadium on Earth. Floating platforms held representatives from every member species of the Council. Some were small as cats, others large as elephants. Some had scales, others had fur, and many had skin that changed colors with their emotions. Chen was one of only 3 humans in the room. Above them all, a giant holographic display showed numbers that would decide Earth's future. The vote was almost finished. Chen's hands held tight to the speaking platform, her knuckles white under her brown skin. This was Earth's 3rd try to join the Galactic Council as a full member. They had been rejected twice before. Each time they were told to wait another 50 years. The numbers stopped changing. The final count appeared in symbols that every species could read in their own language. Chen's heart sank, 7 against. Wanda 53 in favor. Earth had lost again. The Altarian Prime Speaker moved forward. The Altarians were one of the oldest species in the Council. They looked like giant squids that had learned to live on land, with 12 tentacles that they used like arms and legs. Their skin could change color faster than a human could blink. Right now, the Prime Speaker's skin showed purple and gold patterns that meant satisfaction. "The Galactic Council has spoken," the Prime Speaker said. His voice came through the translator device in Chen's ear, turning his water-gurgling speech into English. "Earth's request for full membership is denied." Chen forced herself to stay calm. She had prepared for this, but it still hurt. "May we know the Council's reasoning?" she asked. The Prime Speaker's tentacles moved in what Chen had learned was their version of a shrug. "The same as before. Earth's technology is not advanced enough. Your planet still has separate nations instead of one government. Your species is too violent, too unpredictable. You fight wars among yourselves. How can we trust you with the Council's advanced technology?" "We have made much progress," Chen said. She kept her voice steady, professional. "Our nations work together now more than ever. We have ended our major conflicts. Our scientists have made breakthroughs in quantum computing and gravitational wave detection that even your scientists find interesting." A laugh came from the Zafrani section. The Zafrani were a hive mind, thousands of small flying creatures that shared one consciousness. When they spoke, it sounded like a swarm of bees forming words. Interesting, perhaps, but not impressive. You still burn fossil fuels on your planet. You still have poverty. You still have crime. Chen wanted to point out that the Zafrani had taken 3,000 years to develop past burning wood for heat, but she stayed quiet. Arguing would not help now. The Kronos representative spoke next. The Kronos looked almost human except they were 3 meters tall and had 4 arms. "Earth will remain a provisional member. You may trade with Council worlds, but only in basic goods. No weapons, no advanced technology, no military protection. Try again in 100 years. 100 years, not 50 this time." They were making Earth wait even longer. "We have followed every rule," Chen said. "We have met every requirement you set for us. Our application is complete and shows our progress clearly." "The Council has voted," the Prime Speaker said. His colors shifted to black and white, the pattern that meant the discussion was over. "The decision is final." Chen bowed her head slightly. There was no point in arguing more. But as she turned to leave, she heard voices from the alien sections. They thought humans couldn't hear well, but Chen had implants that enhanced her hearing. It was not exactly legal by Council rules, but Earth had learned that following all the rules meant always losing. They actually thought they would succeed this time, the Altarian ambassador was saying to another of his species. "How amusing. Let them struggle," the Zafrani responded. "Their planet is warming. Their ice is melting. Their storms grow stronger every year. Without Council technology to fix their climate, they will be desperate in 10 years. Then they will accept any deal we offer. We could use more workers in the uranium mines on Kepler 442b, a Kronos said. Humans are sturdy. They can survive radiation better than most species." Chen kept walking, but she recorded every word through her neural implant. Earth's government would want to hear this. They would want to know that the Council didn't just see Earth as not ready. They saw Earth as a future source of cheap labor, a desperate planet they could exploit. She met her 2 assistants outside the chamber. Tom Washington was former military, now working in diplomatic security. His dark face showed no emotion, but Chen could see the anger in his eyes. Yuki Tanaka was a scientist, part of the team that had prepared Earth's technology presentation. She looked like she might cry. "I'm sorry, Ambassador," Yuki said. "We worked so hard on the presentation. I thought showing them our gravitational wave research would change their minds." "It was not your fault," Chen said. She led them toward their shuttle. Around them, aliens of every shape and size moved through the station's corridors. Most ignored the humans. A few looked at them with what might have been pity or contempt. It was hard to tell with alien faces. They passed a group of young Altarians. One of them made a sound that their translator turned into laughter. "Look, it's the humans. Did you really think the Council would let you join? You can't even leave your own solar system without our navigation technology." Tom took a step toward them, but Chen put her hand on his arm. "Not worth it," she said quietly. The Altarian's colors swirled in amusement. "Smart human. You know your place. Perhaps in another 100 years if your species still exists." They reached their shuttle. It was small compared to the massive council ships docked nearby. Earth's best technology looked like toys next to the anti-gravity cruisers and quantum drive vessels of the older species. Chen could understand why the council thought humans were not ready. From the outside, it looked like they were right, but the council didn't know everything. As soon as they were inside the shuttle and the doors were sealed, Chen activated the secure communication system. It used quantum entanglement to send messages instantly across any distance. The council thought only they had this technology. They were wrong. Chen typed quickly. "Rejection confirmed. Vote was 847 to 153. They are extending the wait period to 100 years. Council members spoke openly about exploiting Earth's climate crisis to force us into unfavorable deals. Some mentioned using humans as radiation-resistant mining labor." She paused, then added, "Recommend immediate implementation of Protocol 7. The response came in less than a second. Directly from Earth's Global Defense Council. Protocol 7 approved. "Godspeed, Ambassador." Chen deleted the messages and turned to her assistants. They both looked defeated. They didn't know about Protocol 7, very few people did. "I know this is hard," Chen said. "We all hoped for a different outcome. But Earth has survived worse than rejection. We will adapt. We always do. But without their technology, how will we fix our climate problems?" Yuki asked. "How will we defend ourselves if something threatens our planet?" Chen looked out the shuttle window at the council station. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. So much power, so much technology, all controlled by species that saw humans as inferiors. "We will find our own way," Chen said. "We always have." The shuttle departed from the station. As they flew toward the jump gate that would take them home, Chen thought about the council's decision. They thought they were keeping humans weak by denying them technology. They thought Earth would become desperate and easy to control. They were wrong. For 50 years, Earth had been preparing for this rejection. The best human minds had been working on something the council would never expect. Something that didn't follow the normal path of technological development that every other species had taken. The council controlled energy weapons, force fields, faster-than-light travel, and life extension technology, but humans had been working on something more fundamental. Something the council had declared impossible long ago. Earth had learned to manipulate gravity itself. The shuttle entered the jump gate. In a flash of light, they were transported across thousands of light years to Earth's solar system. Home looked small and fragile compared to the massive council worlds. But Chen smiled as she saw it. The council had made their choice. They had voted against Earth. They thought it was Earth's final chance. They had no idea it was actually their final mistake. 6 months had passed since the council rejected Earth. On the frozen moon of Europa, deep beneath kilometers of ice, General Singh stood in humanity's most secret military base. The room around him hummed with the sound of quantum computers working at full power. Scientists and engineers from every nation on Earth worked side by side, their old rivalries forgotten in the face of a greater purpose. "How long until the Prometheus array is ready?" Singh asked. Dr. Maria Santos looked up from her workstation. She had been leading the gravity manipulation project for 10 years. Her hair had gone gray from the stress, but her eyes were bright with excitement. 3 more months, General. The satellites are in position around Jupiter. We just need to finish the quantum synchronization. Singh nodded. 3 months. They could wait 3 more months. Earth had been waiting for 50 years. A young technician suddenly shouted from across the room. General, we're detecting massive energy signatures at the edge of the galaxy. Every screen in the room switched to show data from Earth's hidden sensor network. Humanity might not have faster-than-light ships, but they had been listening to the galaxy very carefully. What they saw now made Singh's blood run cold. Those are Void Hunter signatures, whispered someone. The room went silent. Every person there knew about the Void Hunters. They were the nightmare that kept the Galactic Council united, an ancient species from outside the galaxy that appeared every few thousand years to harvest entire civilizations. They were the reason the Council had military fleets. They were the reason every species contributed to the common defense. But the last Void Hunter attack had been over 1,000 years ago. Most species thought they were gone forever. How many? Singh asked. Over 300 ships, sir. Each one is... God, they're huge, moon-sized. Singh grabbed his communicator. Get me the president, now. On Earth, President Martinez was in a meeting with her cabinet when the call came through. She listened to Singh's report, her face growing pale. When he finished, she asked only one question. How long until they reach inhabited systems? At their current speed, 2 weeks until they hit the Outer Council colonies. Martinez made her decision. Do nothing. We observe and we prepare. Madam President, shouldn't we warn the Council? They have the same sensors we do, General. If they haven't detected the Void Hunters yet, that's their problem. We offered to share our gravitational wave detection technology. They laughed at us. Remember? Far across the galaxy, the Council was about to learn how wrong they had been about many things. The first attack came at dawn on Altair Prime, the homeworld of the Altarians. The planet's defense fleet detected the Void Hunters only when they dropped out of hyperspace directly above the planet. 43 of the best warships in the galaxy engaged the enemy. The battle lasted 17 minutes. The Altarian ship's energy weapons, powerful enough to crack moons, barely scratched the Void Hunters' biomechanical hulls. The Void Hunters didn't even seem to fire weapons. They just moved through the Altarian fleet, and wherever they passed, ships stopped working. Electronics died. Life support failed. Then the ships themselves began to dissolve, broken down at the molecular level and absorbed into the Void Hunter vessels. The Prime Speaker himself watched from the Planetary Defense Center as his proud fleet became food for the monsters. His skin cycled through every color of terror his species could produce. Send the emergency signal to the Council, all of it. Send everything. Within hours, the entire galaxy knew. The Void Hunters had returned and they were stronger than ever. The Council met in emergency session. For the first time in history, every single member species attended. Even Earth was invited, though only as observers. Chen watched from her assigned platform as panic spread through the chamber. The Zafrani Collective calculates only a 12.3% survival probability for the galaxy, the hive mind announced. Their technology has advanced beyond our projections. The Kronos hegemony was already pulling back their fleets. We must protect our core worlds. Every species for themselves. That's exactly what they want, shouted the Prime Speaker. Half his tentacles were now gray, the Altarian sign of extreme stress. We must work together. Your fleet was the strongest and it fell in minutes, the Kronos ambassador replied. What chance do the rest of us have? Chen listened to them argue. These were the same beings who had rejected Earth for being too divided. Now, at the first real threat, their unity shattered like glass. She activated her secure communicator and sent a message to Earth. Council in complete panic. No coordinated response planned. Void Hunters estimated to reach inner colonies in 3 days. The response came quickly. Understood. Prometheus array activation moved up. Tell them nothing. 3 days later, the Void Hunters attacked 7 different systems at once. The pattern was always the same. They appeared without warning, absorbed any resistance, and then began harvesting the planets themselves. Not just the people or technology, they took everything. Water, atmosphere, even the molten metal from planetary cores. When they left, only dead rocks remained. The Council tried to organize a defense. A combined fleet of 200 ships from 50 different species gathered at Kepler Station, the galaxy's main trading hub. They would make their stand there. Chen watched the battle from Earth's embassy on the station. The human staff had wanted to evacuate, but she had ordered them to stay. "We need to see this," she had said. The combined fleet fought bravely. Every weapon the Council had developed in 10,000 years of civilization was used. Energy beams that could punch through planets, missiles that created small black holes, virus weapons designed to infect biomechanical systems. Nothing worked. The Void Hunters moved through the fleet like sharks through a school of fish. Ships dissolved at their touch. The biomechanical monsters seemed to learn from every attack, adapting their defenses in real time. What hurt them once wouldn't hurt them again. The Zephrani collective swarm tried something desperate. They sent millions of their individual units in a suicide attack, each carrying antimatter explosives. The explosion was visible from 3 systems away. When the light faded, the Void Hunter ship was unharmed. But now it knew how to make antimatter weapons of its own. "They're learning from us," someone whispered in horror. "Every weapon we use, they absorb and improve." The Council fleet broke and ran. There was no shame in it anymore, only survival. But even running didn't help. The Void Hunters were faster now, using the hyperdrive technology they had absorbed from their victims. On Earth, the Global Defense Council met in emergency session. They watched the destruction through their hidden sensors. Every person in the room knew that Earth's turn would come soon. The Void Hunters were moving steadily inward toward the rich core worlds. Earth was directly in their path. "How long until they reach us?" President Martinez asked. "At their current rate, 6 weeks, General Singh replied. "And the Prometheus array? It can be ready in 2 weeks, but it's untested at full power." "We don't know if it will work." Martinez stood and looked at the men and women around her. Leaders from every nation, scientists, military officers. All of them had worked for this moment, but none of them had imagined it would come so soon. "Then we test it when they arrive. If we fail, at least we fail fighting our own way, not begging for help that will never come." Back at Kepler Station, the Council met again. The proud chamber was half empty now. Many representatives had fled to their homeworlds. Those who remained looked defeated. The Prime Speaker's entire left side had turned gray. For an Altarian, it was a sign of approaching death from stress. "We must ask for help," he said. "From who?" The Kronos ambassador laughed bitterly. "There is no one stronger than us in the galaxy." "What about the humans?" Everyone turned to look at the small platform where Chen stood. She had been so quiet they had forgotten she was there. The Zephrani swarm buzzed with what might have been amusement. "The humans? They can't even leave their system without our technology. They detected the Void Hunters before we did," the Prime Speaker said slowly. "Their gravitational wave sensors saw them coming. We ignored the warning. One lucky detection doesn't make them capable of fighting the Void Hunters," the Kronos ambassador said, but there was doubt in his voice now. Chen stepped forward. She had been waiting for this moment. "Earth has nothing that can help you," she said simply. "You made sure of that when you denied us access to advanced technology." It was true from a certain point of view. Earth didn't have anything that could help them, but Earth had something that could help Earth. The difference mattered. The Council members looked at each other. For the first time in their long history, they were faced with an enemy they couldn't fight, couldn't negotiate with, couldn't understand, and the only species that might have had a different approach, a different way of thinking, had been pushed away. As Chen walked back to the human embassy, she passed groups of aliens preparing to evacuate. They were loading their most precious belongings onto ships, hoping to run far enough to escape the Void Hunters. She felt sorry for them, but not enough to reveal Earth's secret. The Council had made their choice when they voted against Earth. Now they would live with the consequences, or die with them. The Void Hunters reached the outer edge of Earth's solar system on a Tuesday. It was raining in New York, sunny in Beijing, and snowing at the European Space Command in Switzerland. Around the world, every human who knew about the threat held their breath. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, President Martinez stood in the command center they called the Nest. It was humanity's most protected location, surrounded by kilometers of water and rock. Screens covered every wall, showing feeds from satellites, space stations, and the hidden sensors Earth had placed throughout the solar system. "Void Hunter scouts have passed Neptune," reported General Singh. His voice was calm, but Martinez could see sweat on his forehead. "How many?" "3 scout ships. The main fleet is holding. Positioned just outside the Oort cloud, they're waiting to see what happens to their Scouts. Dr. Santos stood at the main control panel for the Prometheus array. Her hands floated over the controls, ready. All gravitational lenses are in position around Jupiter. The quantum field generators are synchronized. We're ready, Martinez nodded. 50 years of preparation came down to this moment. Either their technology would work, or humanity would end up like the dozens of species already harvested. Let them come closer, Martinez said. We need them fully inside the solar system for this to work. On the Galactic Council's observation platform, positioned safely outside the solar system, dozens of species watched through their sensors. They had come to witness Earth's destruction, some with sadness, others with the cold curiosity of scientists watching an experiment. The Altarian Prime Speaker was there, his tentacles now completely gray. He had lost his homeworld to the Void Hunters 3 weeks ago. Billions of his people were gone. The humans stand no chance, he said to anyone listening. Their technology is too primitive. The Zephrani collective agreed, their swarm voice buzzing with certainty. Our calculations show Earth will fall in less than 6 hours. The Void Hunters have never failed once they begin harvesting. Such a waste, the Kronos ambassador said. They were annoying, but they made good music. They watched as the Void Hunter scouts moved past Uranus, then Saturn. The massive biomechanical ships looked like metal squids mixed with nightmares, tentacles of living metal stretching for thousands of kilometers. They moved without any visible propulsion, bending space around them. Why aren't the humans running? Someone asked. Their ships are still in orbit around Earth. Where would they run to? The Prime Speaker replied. They have no faster-than-light capability. They know they're trapped. The scouts reached Jupiter, and then something impossible happened. Space twisted. It wasn't the normal bending that happened with faster-than-light travel. This was different. Space itself seemed to grab the Void Hunter scouts and squeeze. The massive ships, each the size of Earth's moon, suddenly compressed to the size of basketballs. Then they expanded again, but wrong. Their biomechanical structure unraveled. Metal and flesh separating at the quantum level. Within seconds, 3 Void Hunter scouts became clouds of dead matter drifting through space. The Council's observation platform erupted in chaos. What was that? The Zephrani collective's entire swarm spoke at once. Impossible. The Prime Speaker's tentacles flailed. The Void Hunters are immune to all known weapons. But before anyone could answer, space around the entire solar system began to change. It was like watching reality fold in on itself. The sun, the planets, everything within the Oort cloud suddenly existed in a bubble of curved spacetime that their sensors couldn't penetrate. To everyone watching, the Earth's solar system simply vanished. Inside the bubble, President Martinez allowed herself a small smile. The Prometheus array is working perfectly. We're completely hidden from outside observation. The main Void Hunter fleet is responding, General Singh reported. 200 ships are converging on our last known position. Let them come, Martinez said. Open the gates. The bubble of twisted space suddenly developed openings, not holes, but places where the inside and outside could interact. Human ships, small and primitive-looking compared to council vessels, darted out through these openings. Each human ship carried a gravitational wave generator, a smaller version of the Prometheus array. They didn't fire weapons in any traditional sense. Instead, they created ripples in space-time itself, waves of gravity that propagated at the speed of light. When these waves hit the Void Hunter ships, the effect was devastating. The biomechanical monsters had evolved to resist energy weapons, kinetic impacts, even antimatter. But they had never encountered a species that could weaponize the fundamental force that held the universe together. The Void Hunters' neural networks, which spanned their entire ships and required stable spacetime to function, began to fail. Their biomechanical hulls, held together by quantum entanglement, unraveled as the gravitational waves disrupted the underlying fabric of space. Captain Sarah Kim commanded the lead human ship, the UES Tesla. She was 32 years old, born after Earth's first rejection by the Council. She had trained her entire life for this moment. Focus gravitational pulse on grid reference 779, she ordered. Let's see if these things can adapt to having their atoms pulled apart. The Tesla fired. Space itself rippled outward from the ship. When the wave hit a Void Hunter vessel, the massive ship seemed to hiccup in reality. For a moment, it existed in multiple places at once. Its matter spread across several dimensions. Then it snapped back together, but the damage was done. The biomechanical nervous system was dead, the ship now just a giant corpse in space. One down, Kim announced. 217 to go. The Void Hunters tried to adapt. They always had before. But how do you adapt to gravity itself being used against you? They tried to scatter. But the human ships appeared and disappeared through their space-time bubble at will. They tried to cluster together for defense, but that just made them easier targets for the gravitational waves. On the Council observation platform, complete silence reigned. They were watching the impossible. Humanity, with their primitive rockets and basic technology, were destroying the Void Hunters. How? The Prime Speaker whispered. Chen appeared on their communication screen. She had finally received permission to reveal the truth. You always assumed technology advanced in straight lines, she said. Energy weapons, then plasma, then antimatter. Shields, then better shields, then perfect shields. Every species followed the same path. She paused, letting them absorb this. But when you denied us your technology, we had to find our own path. You manipulate energy and matter. We learned to manipulate space-time itself. That's impossible, the Zafrani collective protested. Our scientists proved gravitational manipulation beyond basic detection was impossible. Your scientists were wrong, Chen said simply. You became so comfortable with your superiority that you stopped questioning your assumptions. We never had that luxury. The battle continued for 6 hours. The Void Hunters threw everything they had at Earth. Weapons absorbed from 100 different species, techniques that had never failed before. None of it mattered. The human ships danced in and out of twisted space, each appearance bringing death to another Void Hunter. But then suddenly the human attack stopped. The remaining Void Hunter ships, less than 50 now, floated helplessly in space. They were beaten but not destroyed. The Council watched in confusion as the human fleet pulled back into their space-time bubble. Earth reappeared to their sensors, looking exactly as it had before. Admiral Chen, grandson of the ambassador, appeared on all Council communication channels. This is Admiral Chen of Earth's Defense Fleet. We have demonstrated our capability. The Void Hunters are no longer a threat to Earth. You're letting them escape? The Prime Speaker couldn't believe it. They're your problem, not ours, Admiral Chen said. We've shown you it can be done. Your choice what happens next. The Kronos ambassador's forearms clenched in anger. You would let billions die to make a point? You would let Earth die to maintain your superiority, Admiral Chen replied. We're simply returning the favor. Ambassador Chen appeared beside her grandson on the screen. However, Earth is willing to discuss sharing our gravitational technology in exchange for full Council membership, with veto power equal to the founding species. The Council members looked at each other. They were being blackmailed. Earth had the power to save the galaxy, but would only do so on their terms. This is extortion. The Zafrani collective buzzed. This is negotiation, Ambassador Chen corrected. You have 1 hour to decide. The Void Hunters are already regrouping. Without our help, they'll adapt to conventional weapons and continue their harvest. You've seen what we can do. The question is whether your pride is worth more than your survival. The communication ended. On the observation platform, chaos reigned. Some species argued for accepting immediately. Others insisted there had to be another way. The Prime Speaker said nothing, his tentacles moving in slow, thoughtful patterns. Finally, he spoke. They planned this. For 50 years, they knew we would reject them. They knew the Void Hunters would return. Their gravitational sensors probably detected them years ago. They prepared for this exact moment. You're saying they let billions die just to force us to accept them? The Kronos ambassador asked. The Battle of Kepler Station would be remembered as the moment everything changed. 300 Void Hunter ships, the largest fleet they had ever assembled, converged on the galaxy's most important trading hub. 17 different species had embassies there. Millions of civilians from across the galaxy lived and worked on the massive station. It was the heart of interstellar commerce, the place where cultures met and deals were made. Captain Sarah Kim stood on the bridge of the UES Tesla, watching the tactical display. The human fleet, 23 ships in total, held position just outside the station's defense perimeter. Around them, the remains of the Council fleet gathered. 300 ships from various species, all damaged, all running on partial power after weeks of fighting the Void Hunters. Captain, The Council Fleet Commander is requesting communication, her communications officer reported. Kim nodded. Put him through. The screen showed Admiral Thrax of the Altarian Navy. Half his tentacles were missing, lost when his flagship was partially dissolved by a Void Hunter attack. His remaining tentacles moved in patterns that Kim had learned meant exhaustion and despair. Captain Kim, Thrax said through the translator, my tactical computer calculates we can hold them for 4 hours. Perhaps 6 if we're lucky. That should give time for some evacuations. With respect, Admiral, we're not planning to just hold them. Thrax's skin flashed orange. Surprise. You have 23 ships. We have 300. Together we're still outnumbered and outgunned. Kim smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone about to reveal a secret they'd been holding for too long. Admiral, we're about to share something with you. Combat frequencies for your weapons that will make them effective against Void Hunter armor. But first I need your word that you'll follow our lead. You're asking me to trust you with millions of lives. No, Kim said. I'm asking you to trust us with billions of lives. Because if Kepler falls, the core worlds are next. And we both know the Council has no other defense. Thrax was quiet for a long moment. Around them, proximity alarms began to sound. The Void Hunters were approaching, their biomechanical forms blocking out stars as they moved. Very well, Thrax said finally. The Council fleet will follow your lead. Kim turned to her crew. Begin transmitting the quantum frequency patterns. All ships. On every Council ship, tactical computers suddenly received new data. Weapons officers stared at their screens in confusion. The humans were telling them to adjust their weapons to frequencies that seemed random, that violated everything they knew about energy weapons. But they did it anyway. They had no choice. The Void Hunters attacked in their usual pattern, a wave assault designed to overwhelm defenses through sheer mass. The first 100 ships rushed forward, their tentacles of living metal reaching out to dissolve anything they touched. Human fleet. Execute Pattern 7, Kim commanded. The 23 human ships moved as one, not in a defensive line but in a complex dance. They created overlapping fields of gravitational distortion, turning space itself into a weapon. Void Hunter ships that entered these fields found their navigation systems failing, their biomechanical pilots becoming disoriented as up and down lost meaning. Council fleet. Target the points we're marking, Kim broadcast. Fire when ready. The Council ships fired. Their weapons, adjusted to the quantum frequencies the humans had provided, suddenly worked. Not perfectly, not like the human gravitational weapons, but enough. Void Hunter armor that had been impervious before now cracked and burned. The Zafrani collective adapted first. Their hive mind processed the human data faster than individual minds could. Within seconds, every Zafrani ship was firing with perfect accuracy at the quantum weak points the humans had identified. It's working, someone shouted on the Council command channel, but the Void Hunters were adapting too. They always did. The second wave came in a different formation, their biomechanical hulls already shifting to resist the new weapon frequencies. Kim had expected this. Phase 2, Tesla and Singapore with me. We're going through. 3 human ships accelerated directly at the Void Hunter fleet. It looked like suicide. The Council ships watched in horror as the small human vessels headed straight for enemies that dwarfed them, then space twisted again. The human ships didn't just fly through space, they folded it around themselves. They appeared inside the Void Hunter formation, past their defensive screen, and there, at point-blank range, they did something unprecedented. They turned their gravitational weapons inward. Instead of projecting waves outward, the human ships created gravity wells, miniature black holes that lasted for fractions of seconds. The Void Hunters closest to them were pulled in, their massive forms compressed to nothing before the wells evaporated. But more importantly, the gravity wells disrupted the Void Hunters' communication. These creatures were linked, a distributed consciousness across their entire fleet. The gravitational distortion severed those links, turning them from a coordinated force into confused individuals. Now, Kim shouted, all Council ships concentrate fire on Sector 7. The Council fleet, seeing the opportunity, attacked with everything they had. Without their hive mind coordination, the Void Hunters couldn't adapt quickly enough. Ships that would have evolved defenses in seconds now took minutes, and minutes were all the defenders needed. The battle raged for 3 hours. The human ships continued their impossible dance. appearing and disappearing through folded space, each appearance creating chaos in the Void Hunter ranks. The Council fleet, guided by human tactical data, fought with an effectiveness they hadn't known was possible. When it ended, the space around Kepler Station was littered with the remains of Void Hunter ships. Of the 300 attackers, less than 20 escaped, fleeing back to the dark between stars. The defenders had lost 60 ships. It should have been a massacre. Instead, it was a victory. But as the cheers erupted across the Council fleet, the human ships suddenly powered down their weapons. All of them. At once, Admiral Thrax immediately called Captain Kim. "What's happening? Why are you powering down?" Kim's face was stern on the screen. "Our demonstration is complete." Demonstration? This was a battle for survival. Yes, Kim agreed. And we've shown you how to survive. But Earth still hasn't received what we asked for. The meaning was clear. The humans had saved Kepler Station, but they wouldn't save anything else until their demands were met. On the station itself, Ambassador Chen met with the emergency session of the Galactic Council. The chamber was damaged. A Void Hunter probe had breached the hull before being destroyed, but still functional. Every member species was present, either in person or by hologram. Earth's fleet just saved billions of lives, Chen said, standing at the same podium where she had been rejected 6 months ago. We've shown you how to fight the Void Hunters. We've shared tactical data that makes your weapons effective, but we've reached the limit of what we'll do without full membership. The Kronos ambassador stood, his forearms spread in what might have been supplication or threat. "You would hold the galaxy hostage? We would negotiate as equals," Chen replied. "Something you've never allowed before. What guarantee do we have that you'll share all your technology if we accept you?" The Zafrani Collective asked. Chen gestured to the view screen showing the debris field around the station. "You're alive. That's your guarantee. We could have let the Void Hunters take this station. We could have waited until you were desperate enough to offer us anything. Instead, we fought beside you. We saved lives that didn't need to be saved, from our perspective. That's the difference between us and you." The Prime Speaker, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. His colors were shifting through patterns none of them had seen before, complex emotions that their translators couldn't interpret. "You're right," he said. "We judged you by our standards, not your own. We saw your divided nations and thought it meant weakness. We didn't understand that your diversity was your strength. Each nation, each culture approaching problems differently, finding solutions others wouldn't think of." He turned to address the full council. "The humans developed gravitational weapons because we denied them energy weapons. They learned to fold space because we wouldn't share faster than light travel. Every limitation we placed on them, they turned into a new path we never imagined." The vote was called. This time there was no debate. The memory of Void Hunter tentacles reaching for their ships was too fresh. The knowledge that only Earth's technology had saved them was undeniable. When the count appeared on the display, it was overwhelming. 994 in favor, 6 against. Earth had won, but Chen didn't smile. "Not yet." "There's one more thing," she said. "Earth accepts membership, but we have a condition." The council members tensed. What more could the humans want? "We want to establish a new protocol," Chen said. "Any species that applies for membership gets a full evaluation, based on their unique capabilities, not on whether they follow the same technological path as everyone else. No more rejecting civilizations because they're different. Diversity is strength." Today's battle proved that. There was silence in the chamber. Then, surprisingly, it was the Zafrani Collective that spoke first. "We agree." The Grand Council chamber had been rebuilt. Where once there had been platforms separated by height and importance, now there were concentric circles where every species stood as equals. The rebuilding had taken 3 months, but the symbolism was worth it. Earth had insisted on paying for part of the reconstruction, using new materials created with their gravitational manufacturing techniques. Ambassador Chen Wei stood at her new position, no longer on a small platform in the back, but in the inner circle with the founding species. Her granddaughter stood beside her. Lin Chen, Earth's first representative to the Council's Science Directorate. 3 generations of the Chen family had worked for this moment. The vote today was different from any that had come before. It wasn't about membership or trade rights or territory. It was about the fundamental structure of the Council itself. The Prime Speaker called for order. His tentacles had regained their healthy purple color in the months since the Void Hunter attacks had ended. The motion before us today comes from Earth. They propose a complete restructuring of our technology sharing agreements. Ambassador Chen, please present your case. Chen stepped forward. At 73 years old, she moved carefully but with purpose. She had spent most of her life preparing for moments like this. Fellow members, she began, her voice carrying across the chamber through advanced acoustics the humans had helped design. 6 months ago, this council rejected Earth because we were different. Our technology didn't follow your path. Our society wasn't unified the way you expected. Today I stand here because that difference saved the galaxy. She gestured to a holographic display that appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed the Battle of Kepler Station, the moment when human ships had turned the tide. But this isn't about pride or proving we were right. It's about the future. The Void Hunters taught us something crucial. Survival doesn't come from everyone being the same. It comes from everyone bringing their unique strengths to the table. The Kronos ambassador raised one of his 4 hands. We've already accepted Earth as a full member. What more needs to change? Everything, Chen said simply. Look at how we evaluate species for membership. We judge them based on whether they have faster-than-light travel, energy weapons, unified governments. But what if a species developed telepathy instead of radio? What if they mastered biological engineering instead of mechanical? Would we reject them for being different? Murmurs ran through the chamber. Several species shifted uncomfortably. Chen continued. Earth proposes that every member species be required to share one unique technology or capability with the Council. Not their secrets, not their military advantages, but something that could benefit everyone. In return, they gain access to the collective knowledge pool. That's never been our way, the Altarian Prime Speaker said, though his tone was thoughtful rather than dismissive. Your way nearly got everyone killed, Chen replied bluntly. If Earth hadn't developed gravitational technology in secret, where would you be now? Silence fell across the chamber. Everyone knew the answer. They'd be dead, harvested by the Void Hunters. The Zephrani collective spoke up, their swarm voice filling the space. We have analyzed Earth's proposal. The probability of technological advancement increases by 834% if all species contribute their unique developments. However, the risk of military imbalance also increases, which is why Earth is also proposing a defense pact, Chen said. All military technology is shared equally. No species can use Council technology against another member. Violations result in immediate expulsion and embargo. You're asking us to trust each other completely, the Prime Speaker observed. Yes, Chen said. The same trust you're asking of Earth. We're sharing gravitational manipulation, technology that could destroy any of your worlds. If we can trust you with that, you can trust each other. The debate went on for hours. Some species argued it would make them vulnerable. Others worried about losing their technological advantages. But every time someone raised an objection, Chen had an answer. Finally, she played her last card. If you're not convinced, she said, let me show you something. The holographic display changed. It showed Earth not from space but from the ground. Cities that had been flooded were now protected by gravitational barriers that held back the ocean. Deserts were blooming with crops grown in gravity-controlled environments. The climate disasters that the Council had thought would destroy humanity had been turned into opportunities for innovation. We did this in 6 months, Chen said. Imagine what the entire galaxy could achieve if we all shared our knowledge. The Altarians have perfect water recycling. The Zephrani have unmatched biological computers. The Kronos have medical technology that could end most diseases. Separately, we're all limited. Together, we're unlimited. She paused, looking around the chamber at beings who had once dismissed her species as primitive. But Earth won't force this. We'll share our technology with anyone who shares with us. Council decision or not. You can vote to keep things as they were, and we'll work with whoever is willing to work with us. Or you can vote to change, and we all move forward together. The vote was called. One by one, each species registered their decision. The display showed the running tally, and with each vote for change, the excitement in the chamber grew. The final count appeared, 997 in favor, 3 against. The chamber erupted in celebration, a chaos of different sounds and colors and movements as each species expressed joy in their own way. But Chen raised her hand for silence. There's one more thing, she said. Earth requests permission to send expeditions to find species that might have been rejected by the Council in the past. to offer them the chance to join under the new rules. You want to invite the rejects? The Kronos ambassador asked, surprised. We want to invite the different, Chen corrected. Every species that doesn't think like us, doesn't develop like us, doesn't see the universe like us. They're not weaknesses to be rejected. They're strengths we haven't discovered yet. This vote was unanimous. As the session ended, the prime speaker approached Chen again. It had become something of a tradition between them. Your species continues to surprise, he said. Most would use their power to dominate. Humans have tried domination, Chen replied. It never works for long. Cooperation, though, that can last forever. And forgiveness? The prime speaker asked. My species voted against you. We dismissed you. Some of us hoped you would fail. Chen smiled. Forgiveness is the most human thing of all. We're very good at remembering the past without being trapped by it. 3 years passed. The galaxy changed more in those 3 years than it had in the previous 1,000. The Altarian water technology turned desert worlds into gardens. Zephrani biological computers revolutionized medical care. Human gravitational manipulation made faster-than-light travel safer and more efficient. But the biggest change was in the Council itself. 17 new species joined in those 3 years. Species that would have been rejected under the old rules. A race of sentient plants that communicated through chemical signals. Aquatic beings that had never developed fire but had mastered sonic technology. A hive-mind machine intelligence that had achieved consciousness through pure mathematics. Each brought something unique. Each made the whole stronger. The Void Hunters tried to return once. They had adapted to the weapons that had defeated them before. But they hadn't adapted to the combined technologies of 40 different species working together. The battle lasted less than an hour. This time, the Void Hunters didn't retreat. They were completely destroyed. On the 5th anniversary of Earth's acceptance, a monument was unveiled at Kepler Station. It showed a human hand reaching out to touch tentacles, claws, wings, and other appendages from across the galaxy. The inscription, written in every member language, read, "The Galaxy Council voted against Earth. This decision was their final mistake and their greatest lesson. In diversity, we find strength. In difference, we find growth. In forgiveness, we find unity." Ambassador Chen Wei retired that day, her life's work complete. She returned to Earth, to a small house by the sea that gravitational barriers protected from storms. Her granddaughter took her place on the council, continuing the work of bringing species together. But Chen's greatest satisfaction came from the messages she received from across the galaxy. Young beings of every species, inspired by Earth's story, were pursuing new paths, thinking different thoughts, solving problems in ways their ancestors never imagined. The council had learned the most important lesson of all. Sometimes, the greatest strength comes not from those who follow the path, but from those who forge their own. In her final speech to the council, Chen had said something that became legend. You thought you were testing Earth for 50 years, but Earth was testing you. We needed to know if you could change, if you could grow, if you could recognize that different doesn't mean inferior. It took a crisis to teach you that lesson, but you learned it. And that's why we forgave. Not because you deserved it, but because the galaxy deserved a chance to be better. The Altarian Prime Speaker had asked her, what if we hadn't learned? What if we had kept rejecting you even after you saved us? Chen had smiled. Then we would have built our own council.